Hello everyone, here we are. We're going to do Proverbs 19 and 20 tonight, but I want to address something in Proverbs 17, and it's verse 7. It says, "Eloquent lips are unsuited to a godless fool. How much worse lying lips to a ruler." Now, I had interpreted it in a certain way, and I'm looking back at it, and I'm thinking, because I had said something about fools are never going to be speaking eloquently. Well, that's not true. There's plenty of eloquent fools out there. I'm sure that's what court jesters were back in medieval days. So I want to read that again. Eloquent lips are unsuited to a godless fool. They may have them, but it doesn't suit them. How much worse lying lips to a ruler? Okay, so it's saying there's plenty of rulers that are liars, but it's unsuitable that if they have lying lips, okay? And I just wanted to make that clear because I had said something different and it escapes me right now what I said. And I'm sure what I said would be one way maybe to look at it off the cuff, off the top, which I guess that's what I did. But when I thought about it, that one came back to me. So I think the Lord was showing it to me. And I thought, I think what I had said was, there aren't any godless fools that are eloquent. Well, that's just not true. We've got a million of them. We've got them amongst our politicians right now. And it's, I won't go further, but, a lying leader is also, lies coming from a leader are also unsuitable, but it happens, okay? So let's do Proverbs 19. "Better the poor whose walk is blameless than a fool whose lips are perverse. Desire without knowledge is not good. How much more will hasty feet miss the way?" So think before you speak or take action. "A person's own folly leads to their ruin, yet their heart rages against the Lord." And we see that all the time. We see people who blame the Lord when really the Lord didn't have a lot to do with whatever pickle they're in, okay? We see it all the time. So I'm going to read that again. "A person's own folly leads to their ruin, yet their heart rages against the Lord. Wealth attracts many friends, but even the closest friend of the poor person deserts them." That's very sad, but there are those moments, aren't there? "A false witness will not go unpunished," so a slanderer, a liar, "and whoever pours out lies will not go free. Many curry favor with a ruler, and everyone is the friend of one who gives gifts. The poor are shunned by all their relatives. How much more do their friends avoid them? Though the poor pursue them with pleading, they are nowhere to be found." That almost reminds me of my situation with my granddaughter. I mean, I absolutely pursued her with pleading, and she just couldn't hear. Now, when I say pleading, I'm not talking about begging per se, but pleading for the insanity to stop and to continue to have some kind of relationship with her. And it fell on deaf ears, and she just ran the other way. So, okay. So I'm going to read that again. "The poor are shunned by all their relatives." So it could be even the poor in spirit. It doesn't have to be money. How much more? Now, once again, let's make it clear. I did decide to pull back from my daughter. So my daughter is not shunning me. If anything, she still sends me emails, how much more do their friends avoid them? So this almost reminds me of like when you lose your job, how everybody runs away like it's catchy. "Though the poor pursue them with pleading, they're nowhere to be found." So I guess we just look at the precept there. We don't have to really, that could probably fit a lot of things. And that's the beauty of Scripture, is it's multifaceted. So, and I'm wondering right now, well, I'll tell you, I told you I've had only a couple of visions in my life. And in one of them, a portion of the vision was that I saw the Word of God coming down, and they looked like crystal chandeliers. And I saw that they were, the Lord told me, while I was looking at this coming down, and I knew it was the word of God, I knew these were the words, the scriptures, the Lord said to me, not one period in the Bible is of man, it's all of me. And so I'm hearing that while I'm watching this stuff come down. And what I saw about it was that it was multifaceted, not multifaceted interpretations, no, but multifaceted to cover a lot of different situations. But each word is a precept that is sound. It's not, like, well, he interprets it this way and she interprets it that way. There's room for a little bit of mild disagreement or mistakes. There's certainly, wrong doctrine can always be corrected. That's the beauty of it. But, if you have a part, and even in my 30 years of being a Christian, there's been a lot of times where I've misunderstood something or had wrong doctrine, and it's been corrected. And that's just part of the walk. We don't all come in being big scholars, and most of us aren't going to leave being big scholars. But the point I'm making is the precepts, the words of God, keep their meaning, but their meaning will apply to a lot of different situations. So in this one where it says, the poor are shunned by all their relatives, how much more do their friends avoid them? So in other words, if their family is shunning them, then their friends aren't going to be around either. Though the poor pursue them with pleading, they're nowhere to be found. That could cover a million different types of situation, but we get the precept of this scripture, which is when you're poor, you're subject to being shunned or having people hide from you, okay? You're running around saying, please don't leave me, and you can't find them. It could even be when I told you that I came back from my first AA meeting and dialed everyone on the phone looking for someone to pour my heart out to, and no one was there. Okay, though the poor pursue them with pleading, they're nowhere to be found. At that night, you could have said I was very poor in spirit and in heart. And that's when the Lord spoke to me 6 hours later, waking me up out of my bed and, caused me to run into the living room thinking that I was hearing a human voice. And that's where he confronted me and said, why do you seek your comfort from human beings? Why do you always seek your comfort from human beings? Why do you not come to me? Okay, so I'm digressing a bit, or I'm going a step further with this, but I'm just trying to show you that proverb covers a lot of different heartaches, a lot of different situations, but the precept stays the same. That sometimes when you're hurting, not only can, if you can't find your family, then it stands to reason you probably can't find a friend either. There are those times. There really are those times, okay? The one who gets wisdom loves life. The one who cherishes understanding will soon prosper. A false witness will not go unpunished, and whoever pours out lies will perish. A lot of talk about liars. It's not fitting for a fool to live in luxury. How much worse for a slave to rule over princes? And we've seen that. We've seen plenty of fools living in luxury, and we've seen plenty of slaves that rule over princes, people that shouldn't be in that position, people that are in total bondage. They're slaves to something, and yet they're ruling. A person's wisdom yields patience. It's to one's glory to overlook an offense. There are sometimes you don't need to open your mouth. At this age, at 64, I learned 10 years ago, pick your battles, because you get tired as you get older and you just don't have the time for drama. You don't want it anymore. So you pick your battles. You don't point out every single thing, or you spend your whole day talking about what's bothering you and what people can do and not do around you. Boring. Just let go of some stuff. It's not important. A king's rage is like the roar of a lion, but his favor is like dew on the grass. And that, I think, would go for a bad ruler or a good ruler. A foolish child is a father's ruin, and a quarrelsome wife is like the constant dripping of a leaky roof. I'm sure Solomon understood that one very well, too. Houses and wealth are inherited from parents, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. Laziness brings on deep sleep, and the shiftless go hungry. Whoever keeps commandments keeps their life. But whoever shows contempt for their ways will die. What ways? The ways of the commandments. If you hate the commandments and you show contempt, like, I couldn't care less. Not in my thoughts. They'll die. Whoever keeps commandments keeps their life, but whoever shows contempt for their ways will die. Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and I've touched on this a couple times, and he will reward them for what they have done. When we were talking about stinginess, etc., and when you give to people, you are lending to the Lord, especially when they're poor people. You are lending to the Lord. So I'm going to read it again. Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he'll reward them for what they've done. Discipline your children, for in that there is hope. Don't be a willing party to their death. God, that's true. I had 2 girls that I raised. My first one, she got spankings. My second one, she didn't get spankings. She got timeouts and all that stuff. And the second one is actually meaner than the first one. They're both screwed up, but it's beyond me now. They can't blame me. They can't blame me for what's happening. I mean, my first daughter had some things that are, she has some demons in her life that she deals with that have nothing to do with me. And I can see where they come from in the family line, but they're so particular to her, and I've never dealt with them. My granddaughter, we have yet to see, okay? My granddaughter can be really harsh and mean. Of course, she's of this generation, and this generation is very harsh and mean. They are without conscience. They're very entitled. So, discipline your children, for in that there's hope. Do not be a willing party to their death. I can only hope that my children don't die. And I've been praying for my daughter for 35 years, 40 years? I don't know. And my granddaughter, of course, I pray for too. I don't know if you've seen that meme, but it says, I think we can safely say that the ass-beating generation, pardon my French, turned out better than the timeout generation. All right. I guess I could have said butt beating, but I'm just quoting the meme. All right. A hot-tempered person must pay the penalty. Rescue them, and you'll have to do it again. Listen to advice and accept discipline, and at the end, you'll be counted among the wise. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. What a person desires is unfailing love. Better to be poor than a liar. Okay, let's look at this. What a person desires, this is 22 of 19. What a person desires is unfailing love. Better to be poor than a liar. I have to look into that. That's very odd. It doesn't seem to go together, but I know it does. Maybe you get it before I'm getting it. The fear of the Lord leads to life. Then one rests content, untouched by trouble. A sluggard buries his hand in the dish. He won't even bring it back to his mouth. Flog a mocker, and the simple will learn prudence. Rebuke the discerning, and they will gain knowledge. Whoever robs their father and drives out their mother is a child who brings shame and disgrace. I know that very well. Stop listening to instruction, my son, and you'll stray from the words of knowledge. A corrupt witness mocks at justice, and the mouth of the wicked gulps down evil. Penalties are prepared for mockers, and beatings for the backs of fools. Proverbs 20. Wine is a mocker, and beer a brawler. Whoever's led astray by them is not wise. A king's wrath strikes terror like the roar of a lion. Those who anger him forfeit their lives. You know, I just saw a video of a mountain lion following a guy down a path. It was terrifying. Finally, it turned and ran away, but it was like, I don't know, it felt like 10 minutes of this lion stalking him and then freaking out and doing this weird cat thing, like growling and stomping its feet and running at him. It was terrifying. And this guy's like alone on this dirt road. He had been taking a jog. It wasn't even a road. It was just a path he was jogging through. And this cougar picked up his scent and got on the path. I don't know if it was a mother. He kept referring to its babies, but oh my goodness, it was really scary. I can't imagine how I would feel in his position. But eventually it turned tail and ran. All right. A king's wrath strikes terror like the roar of a lion. Those who anger him forfeit their lives. It is to one's honor to avoid strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. Sluggards don't plow in season, so at harvest time they look but find nothing. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. That almost reminds me of therapists, because therapists are trained to have an insight into what they're hearing from a person. And they know what to ask to draw those things out. So that's very interesting. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Many claim to have unfailing love, but a faithful person who can find? The righteous lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them. Well, one can only hope, huh? When a king sits on his throne to judge, he winnows out all evil with his eyes. Now, as far as blessed are their children after them, it's not over yet. That's all I can say to any of you that suffer with wayward children. It's not over yet. All right, when a king sits on his throne to judge, he winnows out all evil with his eyes. Who can say I've kept my heart pure, I'm clean and without sin? None of us, folks, none of us. Differing weights and differing measures, the Lord detests them both. So don't rip anyone off, don't cheat in business. Even small children are known by their actions. So is their conduct really pure and upright? Ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord's made them both. Do not love sleep or you'll grow poor. Stay awake and you'll have food to spare. Boy, does that mean a lot right now in this day and age. It's no good, says the buyer, then goes off and boasts about the purchase. I've met people like that, and you have too. They're very irritating. They grumble about everything and argue about everything and then turn around and use it in another way to brag to others. It's very weird. Solomon had a good, he had a wise eye and had obviously watched a lot of people. Gold, you could almost hear him laughing in this. It's no good, says the buyer, then goes off and boasts about the purchase. I can almost hear him in conversation with, one of his servants telling a story about somebody. And it's a character. It's a dissertation on the person's character. They don't have stable character, or they're manipulative or something. Gold there is and rubies in abundance, but lips that speak knowledge are a rare jewel. We should all remember that. Gold there is and rubies in abundance. Of course, in Solomon's day, there was gold, silver, rubies, gems, everything in abundance. But lips that speak knowledge are a rare jewel. Take the garment of one who puts up security for a stranger. Hold it in pledge if it is done for an outsider. So a person that guarantees another person's loan who they don't even know, it says take his garment and hold it in pledge. if it is done for an outsider. We might need to look into that one. Food gained by fraud tastes sweet, but one ends up with a mouthful of gravel. Plans are established by seeking advice. So if you wage war, obtain guidance. A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much. If someone curses their father or mother, their lamp will be snuffed out in pitch darkness. An inheritance claimed too soon will not be blessed at the end. Do not say, I'll pay you back for this is wrong. Do not say, I'll pay you back for this wrong. I'll pay you back for this wrong. Wait for the Lord and he will avenge you. The Lord detests differing weights, and dishonest scales do not please him. A person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their own way? If the Lord's leading, then we follow in faith. Let's read that one again too. A person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their own way? Whatever way you're going, it's all a faith journey, people. How can we know it? It's a trap to dedicate something rashly and only later to consider one's vows. We talked about that they spoke to us of it in the Old Testament about making a vow rashly. And then someone in the family had to come up with some kind of price or payment to cancel the vow that you made rashly. I don't know if you remember that, but that was way back in the Old Testament amongst the Israelites. So we'll read it again. It's a trap to dedicate something rashly and only later to consider one's vows. A wise king winnows out the wicked. He drives the threshing wheel over them. That's a wise king, not a foolish one. The human spirit is the lamp of the Lord that sheds light on one's inmost being. Love and faithfulness keep a king safe. Through love, his throne is made secure. The glory of young men is their strength. Gray hair, the splendor of the old. Blows and wounds scrub away evil, and beatings purge the inmost being. The Lord's not afraid of spankings. Okay? He's definitely not. He's not into violence and rash behavior and craziness. But he is into discipline. That's all I can say about that. Now, the scriptures I pointed out that I wanted to look into, you let me go and get into them, and we'll talk about it tomorrow, because I don't want you to have to follow me around while I figure it out, because there's a couple of them I want to look at again. But I want to tell you a story. I had a horrible experience yesterday. It took me totally by surprise. I went into a gas station and put my debit card into the pump, and it gave me my balance and said, do you want to put this in the tank? Well, that would have been ridiculous. It never would have fit in the tank. So I said no, and I was starting to put in the $20 I was going to put in, and it just canceled the transaction. Well, it turned out that it canceled the transaction and ate my money. So I went from a full balance to zero in 10 seconds. So I hit the roof. I'm going to be honest with you. I hit the roof. I went in and talked to the guys, and they're like, oh, we don't know what to do. Call your bank. So I called my bank, and they're like, yep, the gas station took it. So I went back into the guys, and they said, well, here, call the store, because it was a store gas station. So I called the store, and the manager was horrible to me, just horrible. He wanted me to come in, fill out a form, they'd send it to the bank, and he was very rude and very unempathetic. And long story short, he hung up on me because I swore. I did swear a couple times. I was very angry, and I was very freaked out. It was definitely I hate to say it, but it was, well, let's just put it this way. I'm going to be responsible for my own actions. But I was triggered, and I was scared because all my money was gone, and I had plans for the money, obviously, and I didn't understand what had happened. So he ended up hanging up on me, and because he couldn't handle the emotion that I was putting out there, you know, and he just couldn't handle it. So, excuse me. So the end of the story is that apologies were made all around. You know, I called him back and said, sorry, I swore. And the big mucky muck in the store gave me $100 gift card, food card for their market. And of course, the bank got my money back for me. But the point I'm making is, I think the point of me telling you the story is that the Lord is preparing me for flying out there on my own, and he's making good things happen from bad things, because, you know, pretty soon my income is going to be cut in half. So, well, not in half, but it's going to be really docked. So I see the Lord working. I see him taking things that were startling and horrible and making them good. So I just want to leave you with that. I love you very much, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. And remember, you know, I love the Lord with all my heart, as much as, at least I think I do, okay? I mean, you can see that I love the Lord, all right? But I'm human, and I'm still, you know, I wrestle with sin, okay? So about the only thing we can do when we look at another person that loves the Lord is say, she loves the Lord a lot. We can't say she walks on water, because she doesn't. Okay, because none of us do. Because, you know, we all do that. And I'm not saying you're doing that with me, but sometimes we see people and we think they're so strong in the Lord. Well, yeah, they love the Lord a lot, but they still wrestle with their own sin. Okay, so I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.